a very big day coming up.
Yeah, coming up quick, too.
It's coming up real quick. So you must be getting in that zone of like, all right, it's almost fight week. How are we feeling right now before we dive into all of the X's and O's?
Always like a little nervous to go, like just the travel wise, but like I'm feeling really confident about the fight, and my preparation for the fight has been really good. So like I just trust in that, and the thing I'm most nervous for is just like the big trip over to Asia.
Yeah. Have you never been? It's in Singapore, right?
Yeah, I went in September. But this time I flew with like my corner last time, but my corner's coming like a little after me this time, like a day later. So it's like flying. This will be my first time going to like another country alone. Like,
that can be a bit daunting. That's for sure. Do you remember how long that flight was?
I think it's like 36 hours total, like just being on like the plane, because I have like, or like with the layovers, because I have like a 6-hour layover or 8-hour layover in Amsterdam, and then 2 10-hour flights, and then like it's long.
Oh my God, seriously. But at least when you get there, it's for a good reason, you know? It's like you can get excited about it once you're finally there. So it's something to look forward to. But before we dive into your upcoming fight, I want to talk about a little bit of what you were up to the last few years. I was shocked to find out that you were actually an emergency tech for a while during the pandemic. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was just in cardiology like before the pandemic, which was like I was kind of like just doing my own thing in between fights, and I would like only fight twice a year. So my mom was kind of like, like you have to get like a real job. So I went back to school, then did that, and when COVID hit, our whole unit just turned into the COVID unit. And we had like a lot of older nurses, so like so many people didn't like got medical excuses to not work the COVID unit. And being like the youngest one working, like I just got pretty much shit on. Like every time I went to work was just like, you're having all COVID patients, and just like the gowning. And then by the time like I was the end of like the very beginning of 2021, I think is when I quit. And that's like when people like stopped like really caring about COVID, but the hospital was still so understaffed. So it was just like a perfect time to get out of that. I was over it.
Oh, I'm sure you were over it, but I'm sure it, in a way, probably helps you mentally with the fight game.
Yeah, and like I feel like the bonds that I built through there, like working with like older people, like being wiser and stuff. I've created like really good relationships. I worked there for 5 years, so it like getting to see different like life experiences through other people and stuff, and like kind of traumatizing things like people passing and stuff, like makes you like really grateful. And when I like try to get down on myself, like bad days, like I just try to remember like this is like what I've always wanted, is to be a full-time fighter, and like just to feel blessed about what I have now, and glad that I've kind of outgrown the hospital job.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's so exciting to be able to say I'm a full-time fighter. When you signed your name on the dotted line for one championship, I mean, what was going through your mind?
Mostly like, who am I going to face in the tournament? Because like, that's like what got me into one, was that Grand Prix. But yeah, just like, it was kind of like the last like 8 years of work paying off, like when I could finally like quit at the hospital, and to see like everyone that like the past 5 years working there like support me and stuff, like just them see like my dream coming true was like really cool too. Even though like the hospital management didn't even thank me, like they literally didn't even send an email, they just took me off my schedule when I quit. But all my buddies like were cool, and I still keep in contact really close with them.
Good. That blows my mind. It's like you spent such a big chunk of your life there, and some people are just Some people just don't get it, but that's so exciting that you get to live your life and doing something that you love, and not only that, but signing that multi-fight contract. And I noticed that you train an American Top Team. Were you at somewhere else before that?
Oh yeah, I was at MMA Masters in Miami until January of this year.
So why the gym change?
Mostly just for like the training partners. Like I didn't have any girls or any professional girls at MMA Masters, and I felt like I couldn't get like accurate looks when I went with guys, just because like sometimes like you don't know if they're like letting you get stuff because you're a girl, or like what, like gauging where you're at going into a fight. But ever since I've been here at American Top Team, like every single day is like you're going into like a super competitive environment with a bunch of really high level girls. And I think like the best you can mimic the nerves for a fight in like your everyday training is the more prepared you're going to be. And like it was really hard to make that switch, especially like just going there like to Miami full time, and then having to break a lease on my first apartment to get a new apartment, and obviously like kind of upsetting some coaches and stuff. But it was nothing personal. It was just like what I had to do.
Yeah, and I think it's important. You got to be selfish sometimes, especially with the fight game. And going to a place like American Top Team, I mean, you are surrounded by killers. It doesn't matter male or female, So what have you noticed in your training that you feel has improved since January just by being around these killers?
I feel like the most that I've gained from it is like walking in the gym and seeing like Joanna Jacek and all these big people, like they kind of, especially being a new person, they intimidate you a little bit. And I think like they kind of that's like with any going to new gym, like you're the new person and they're gonna kind of get put on you at the beginning. And just dealing with that, like now I can go into this fight knowing that like I've been on the mats like with some of the most intimidating girls like in the sport, like, and if I can train every day with them, then I'm not going to be like, I'm not nervous about this fight. Like I'm just prepared and I'm excited because I've been putting myself through like hell since January at this new camp. Like my hard work's finally going to get to pay off in the cage, and like it's not going to be me taking a whooping on the mats. It's like going to be my hard work getting put in the cage.
And I hear that when you get ready for a fight camp, you go into something called Gangster Mode. And I'm all about this. Well, excuse me, Gangsta Mode. There's a difference. I
actually call it Gangster. I call it Gangster Mode. And then when they put Gangsta Mode, I was like, that's not what I call it. I call it Gangster Mode.
All right, you heard it here first. You better check that spelling.
Yeah, I was like, that's not what I said. I said Gangster Mode.
Gangster Mode. I love it. So tell me, what is Gangster Mode?
Like, I feel like I'm like a really soft and sensitive person, like in my day-to-day life. Like people like that know me know, like I get nervous doing stupid stuff, like going to the grocery store and like all the like little things that like you wouldn't think, like, especially when, like, oh, that girl's not a fighter. Like she doesn't look like a fighter. You're too small to be a fighter. But like Gangster Mode, like I just put like all that stuff aside, and like I don't care what people think. I don't care like about the TikTok comments that can be ruthless and the people trying to get, like, it's just like all background noise, and I'm only focused on my fight, and I don't skip training. And like especially being in South Florida with the summer, like it's hard to like not just want to go to the beach for a day, but like when you're in Gangster Mode, there's like can't do that. Like it's just focusing, like no dates, no hanging out with friends. Like I'm home every night after training, and it's just like being on that strict regimen schedule. And we started Gangster Mode because when my manager used to call me about fights, I would always cry on the phone because I would be so nervous. And so he'd have to like prepare me to be like, okay, I'm going to call you. It's about a fight. Like, okay, we need to go into Gangster Mode. We need to go into Gangster Mode now. And like that kind of means like you need to stop crying. And like, but it just like became a thing. Like when I get nervous and stuff, he's like, okay, like you can vent about this for a little bit, but then we're back into Gangster Mode. And it's just like being able to turn that mindset on and off.
Absolutely. And I love how open you are about just emotions in general. I feel like a lot of fighters want to hide that, but I think it's a very real thing. Like you get that announcement that you're about to fight. Like there's so many different emotions going through your brain, you know? So it's cool that you're able to flip that switch for yourself. What are some techniques that you use to stay in your gangster mode?
Probably like a lot of like just like talking through things and focusing on like the things that I can control. Cause like, especially when someone calls you and says like, this person wants to fight you, you're always like, oh my gosh, why do they want to fight me? Like, they think they can beat me. Like, so like you go through like all of those emotions first. Like, they want to fight me? Okay. Like, so once you process that, then yeah, like, so I used to like have a really hard time sleeping because like all I could focus on is like, oh my gosh, what if I lose this fight? What if I lose this fight? But like I just tell myself like there's nothing that I can do tonight that's going to change the outcome of the fight. Like I can go to the gym in the morning and talk about it with my coaches. Sometimes I'll even text them and be like, hey, can we go over this in the morning? Because like I've been thinking about it. But like whether I stay up all night worrying or if I go to sleep, it's not going to change the outcome of the fight. So like being able to tell myself like worrying means you suffer twice and like stupid sayings like that, like really help me.
Hey, it works, man. Whatever you need to do, like I get that. I'm an amateur kickboxer. I'm on a lower level than, one championship, but I know those pains of feeling like, you start doubting yourself and the self-doubt, and music for me is a big one. I don't know about you, but what kind of music is on your playlist recently to like get you pumped up?
I listen to a lot of like Chris Webby, who's like a rapper, and I like Drake, and I always call it my gangster rap, but like being at a big gym and stuff, like you really don't get to pick like any of the music or nothing, like things, but when I'm like running and stuff, or I only live like 3 minutes from the gym, so sometimes I used to like listen to all my gangster rap in the car, but I'm like barely in the car now, so
now you just have to hope that somebody at the gym picks something good, and then you just gotta vibe to it.
Yeah, then when they do, I'm always like, oh man, I love this song, thanks for putting Drake on it, like thank them. But yeah,
that's awesome. So May 20th, right around the corner, but it's been a long time coming. I mean, we were supposed to fight. When was it originally scheduled for? It was a little while ago.
I don't even know what month it is right now. The first fight was for March.
Okay, yeah. So you were supposed to fight. You were supposed to fight her in March, and now we're finally fighting May 20th, and it was because of an injury, correct?
It was my medicals didn't get cleared in time for the flight. So like they saw something weird on a scan, and then they were like, because like it was like in my lungs, and then they were like, you need to get medically cleared before you can fly because of like the pressure on a plane. And then that was on like Thursday, and then there was no way to get cleared by Friday, and I was supposed to leave Saturday. So it was just like time. Yeah, that was like a really bad weekend.
Oh man.
I like turned my phone off like when I officially we're not fighting. We took care of it. We told one. I called my mom and I was like, Mom, like I need to turn my phone off. Like I'm just freaking out. I have anxiety. Like I'm gonna turn my phone off. Like not telling her like when I was gonna turn it back on. Like in her head, she just thought the next day. So like the next day came, and I could tell it was like getting dark outside. So I was like, man, I don't even know what time it is. Like all my clocks aren't set. So I was like, I'll just turn my phone on to see what time it is. And like at first nothing happened to my phone. I was like, wow, like 2 days and no one has even texted me.
Right.
Okay, whatever. And then like out of nowhere, it's like ringing and dinging and dinging. And I answer it, and it's my mom, and she's in tears, and she's been on the phone with the police, and like she's like, they're already on their way to your apartment. Like I didn't know what to do. We thought you were dead in there. And then by like the time she called off like coming here, they were like still came and just like made sure I was okay. But I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, you made my weekend worse. Like
so not only are you trying to process like, wait, I'm not fighting, now I have police at my door. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So at least we got all of that nonsense out of the way. No more of that nonsense. Now we know that, okay, we can't turn off our phones when mom is worried. But moving into this week, moving into fight week, getting ready for May 20th, how is the mental state right now?
Like full gangster mode. Like,
Love it. Love
like
it.
have to like be careful what I say in interviews to like make sure I have a filter and stuff, because I'm just like, I just want, especially after my last fight, like not coming out with the win, like I know how important this fight is. So like, it's just made me that much more focused.
Yeah. And do you feel like you've been in the game for a while? I mean, this wasn't your first professional fight, but there is some sort of, anxiety when you're making a promotional debut, right? Do you feel like that opportunity allowed you to kind of take a little bit of pressure off yourself, or are you still keeping that same pressure to kind of motivate yourself?
I feel like the pressure just comes from like the loss, not really like that it was like my debut and like that is over with. I feel like once I get a win under the promotion, I'll feel like a little pressure lifted. But right now, I just think like it even adds more, because like I lost my Invicta debut, was my like only other loss, and then went on to win two more. So like, and that was like going from regional to Invicta, which was like a little step. Now I feel like Invicta won, so it's like slowly climbing. Like I think maybe I got the nerves out of the way, and like that across the country experience done with really strict restrictions because of COVID. I heard they're a little like less now, so I think it will be even better trip and more easier, like less like prison. And yeah, it should be easier this time.
And I got to pick your brain about this huge announcement that one had about having this multi-year agreement with Amazon Prime Video for US and Canada, live events on Prime Video. I mean, tell me what that means to you to know that you might have an opportunity to be on Prime Video.
Well, at first I was like super excited and everything until I was doing an interview last night, and they were like, "What do you think about like having to fight on American time in Singapore?" And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, it's gonna be like 8 p.m. in here, but it's gonna still be like 8 a.m. there." And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that." So like,
but is that a guarantee?
Exciting.
Like, is that a guarantee?
That's what they told me in an interview.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that, because I mean, I get what they're saying. Like, you probably want to have it on a prime time for the US, but at the same time, I don't know, like maybe they'll still keep it the normal times and we just have to tune in when it's on, but we'll see. But we have
and that's like way awesome, because
I know, but
it's
super
hard
they do make
for
a
people
point.
to get the app. Yeah, when they said that, I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And then I looked like dumb. So I was like, "Well, Prime Time's awesome. Like Amazon, everyone has that. If you have a smart TV, you probably have Amazon Prime." So
yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. It's like, I freaking watch all of my shows on Amazon Prime, and now I can be like, oh, there's ONE FC, there's a fight card on. Like that's so exciting. And we have so many fan questions from Instagram, so I want to make sure I get to a lot of them. Plenty of weirdos.
Like, I hope nobody asked anything.
Oh no, don't worry. There's plenty of weirdos that want to marry you. But we won't we won't go into those. But okay. Somebody wants to know how you got into motocross. I noticed that you do motocross as well.
Yeah, I actually plan on racing like in June. I like just got done talking to my buddy.
Oh my gosh.
Because I haven't raced since I was like 14 or 15, just because like college soccer, then like, I was always fighting at the end of the summer. So I've been gone like the last like 4 years during summer. So I'm like, this time my fight is before summer and I'm going to enter a race. I want to bring a trophy back to my apartment. But how I got into it is growing up, like my house, like we live in the country, like in Michigan, backed up to got a kid named Seth Green, and we're the same age, and he like that was his sport, and his dad like built a whole track like connecting our yards. And when I was like 6 years old, like I just saw, heard them on dirt bikes and was like, begged my parents for one, and they got me like this little TTR 90, which they didn't know anything about dirt bikes, but like I wanted like a race bike, and they got me a trail bike, but like his dad put like a racing pipe on this trail bike, and I raced like this trail bike against like actual dirt bikes. And people thought it was the funniest thing ever. I even tried to jump this thing that had no suspension. People still joke about it till today. Like, do you remember when you like raced your TTR 90 at Log Road and tried to jump it? I'm like, yeah, I like broke my leg on that thing in that race.
No.
But yeah,
I mean, would you be using a different bike this time around?
Yeah, I have like a brand new 2019 YZ125 that my parents bought me in 2019. So that's my baby, and it's at home, and I can't wait to go ride it. But yeah, my neighbor got me into it, and he's professional now. So.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Somebody wants to know, who was your favorite person to train with and why?
I've had so many since I've started. But I feel like when I did my camp like with Felice Herrig, when I was coming off my first Invicta loss, like I don't know how to say it, but I feel like she pulled me out of like a really dark place, like because I always told my parents I would quit MMA once I lost, and then I did lose, and then she kind of took me under her wing for a couple of her UFC fights, and it was the first time like I got to see like the UFC. The first time I was at UFC fights and got to see like all of, like the like what happens when you're really successful in the sport, and like her discipline and stuff, and like what it took for her to be successful. So like I lived with her, and then I got to like live at the gym and train with her every day, and just like that friendship and training thing and pulling me out from a place like that I thought I wasn't going to come back from, and to get 2 wins and have her in my corner. Like we're kind of on separate paths now. She's moved gyms and I've moved gyms, but I definitely like owe her a lot of credit for like getting me back on track.
That's great. I really love this question. Somebody said, what is the best advice you would give your 10-year-old self? It's a tough one.
Probably to not be so naive, especially like when I was so young going into this sport that's like a male dominant sport. You like want to always believe like that people that are trying to help you just want to help you because, like, oh my gosh, they're so nice. They want to do this for me. And they promised me all these things. But then like you realize like people's intentions aren't always good. So like I was very naive to it, like being 18, going to my first camp in Vegas, like not even out of high school yet. And like just like being more like aware, but like at 10 years old, you don't picture yourself in like these weird situations all the time. But in MMA, you really like it's just a ruthless sport, and you do have to be selfish sometimes, and even if that means hurting people's feelings. And I think like that's still something I struggle with, like saying no to like people like that want to help me, and like not doing 20 sessions a day because I didn't say no to somebody, and just like looking out for myself.
Yeah. Well, Alyse, thank you so much for your time. And before you head into fight week, any final thoughts before you make your second appearance for ONE FC?
Just that I've had a really good camp, and I want to like thank like everyone that supported me this far, and to tune in next Friday because I think that it's going to be like a good card, and I know my fight will be exciting. So it's definitely worth waking up early for the U.S. to watch.